Well, hello there everyone, my name is Amy, this is the Opinionated Woman, and welcome to Crafty Reads, the series where I craft something and we talk about the last 5 books that I've read. I'm still working on this throw. We are slowly getting to the blue. It is actually about to change over because it's got the tiniest little bit of green in this blue that's left, and it's about to swap over to the purple. So I'm super excited about that. So we're going to carry on working my throw and talk about my books. I really didn't expect to have read this many books so quickly, but I feel like after Pride I always have like a little bit of a lull, like my reading slows down a little bit. Oh dear. During Pride, after Pride, because I've obviously been focused so much on reading and vlogging it, and then I start to ramp up again, and I decided after reading the first book that I'm going to talk about, that I was going to treat myself by going to the Sea Point Library. I've seen them on TikTok and they've got a really good queer selection. There was a particular book that I wanted to grab, and I had been wanting to read it forever, so I was like, okay, I am going there, I am beelining for this book, and I found it, and it was all that I wanted and more. So forget all of that, let's get into these books. The first book I read was The Mercies by Kiran, Millwood, Hargrave. How stunning is this book? Like, I picked this up at Bargain Books like last year, and I couldn't believe how beautiful it was. Like, oh, it's absolutely stunning. And the insides, just as good as the outsides. So this is historical fiction set in the 1600s, and it's set in a really remote little island called Vardø in like right in the north in Norway. So it's like right by the Arctic Circle. It's like cold as all balls, you know, and they have like those like really long days during the summer and like really dark days during the winter. So in this small town, like this small little island, there's a small village of people, and the men spend a lot of their time going fishing. And then one day, this actually did happen in a storm. This storm comes out of nowhere and kills like 40 men, which is like most of the men on the island. So the women are left on the island to fend for themselves. Like, one of the women, she starts wearing trousers. And that's like literally a thing that they think is like evil, which is so bizarre. But yeah, so these women basically have to fend for themselves. They carry on doing, you know, as like what the men would do. The women started doing it. They started handling the dead. They had a clergyman, but that's about it. And he wasn't very much good. Like the woman made much more happen than the pastor, whatever he was, did in the end. But so we're following our main character Maren, and it's like a year and a half after this happened. Maren's father, brother, and the man she was betrothed to all died, and word has gotten back to like the mainland and the people in charge that it's about to change color. Oh my god, yes. That, you know, the women of Vardø are starting to do things for themselves, and they're like, oh, there might be like a witchly influence here, because it's like right in peak witch era. And so they send a commissioner, and the commissioner comes over with his brand new wife, who he doesn't know very well at all. Her name is Ursa, and she's who the other point of view is from. And the commissioner goes in basically on a literal witch hunt, and we follow that as we go on. And we also follow a very slow burn romance between two of the women that I absolutely loved. Like it was like long and yearning, you know, and oh, like that whole like yearning aspect, like combined with the atmosphere and like insular nature of the fact that it's like a little island and like the very small community, plus, you know, like all of that combined just like created the perfect amount of tension. Like, I just thought it was handled like absolutely fantastically, and it might go on my best books of the year so far, so yay. Then I read The Graveyard of Lost Children by Katrina Monroe, and I could, like, you can tell how much this book sat in my brain because I completely forgot about it when I was going to be doing this wrap up. I saw it on my story graph and I was like, oh yeah, I read that. Not a good sign. So I picked this up because it was recommended as a queer thriller, and I love a queer any genre. And this one has a lot to do with children and birth and things like that. So if you are sensitive to that kind of thing, I would skip this one for sure. But we're following our main character, Olivia, who's just had her baby, Flora, with her wife, Chris. And things are not right with Olivia since she got back from the hospital. And then the second point of view that we're following is in the past, and it's from Olivia's mother, Shannon's point of view. And Shannon has been locked up in a mental institution since Olivia was a child because she tried to kill her. So we've got that hovering around. And the prospect of Shannon coming back into Olivia's life is sort of like a looming thing. But basically what's happening with Olivia is she thinks that her baby has been swapped out for something else and she wants to get her baby back. And she keeps on being visited by this black-haired woman. And I think the author, and why I think I would read from this author again, is that she very artfully managed to create this very tense atmosphere where you aren't sure whether she's having a mental issue or whether it's paranormal. Like, and there's so many ways you're like, okay, no, I think I've got it sorted out, and then you're like, no, but that's not possible. And like, so it keeps you guessing, which I really did enjoy. I feel like both narrators were unreliable, which I do enjoy in some books, but it just got a little bit frustrating. But I suppose that was part of like the tension of the book, that you like knowing that the protagonist is probably making the wrong decision, but they're just not in the right mind to make the right decision. I just felt like the end was a little bit anticlimactic for me, but yeah, it's not the worst thriller that I've read, you know. Like, I think I'm so immune to like ridiculousness, like So Happy for You, or like anything by freaking Alice Feeney, or, you know, Lucy Foley, or any of that nonsense that I've like certain suspending your disbelief, like I think I've been desensitized to. So it wasn't the worst. I would definitely try Katrina and Monroe again, but at the same time, yeah, I felt like it could have been a little bit more on the thrilling side. Then I read the book that I went to the library for, and that is Ace of Spades by Faridah, Abike-Iyimide. This is a YA thriller that's like people call it a cross between Gossip Girl and Get Out, and that's exactly what this is. It is like the perfect example of a cross between those two pieces of media, because we're following our two main characters, Devon and Shemaka. Shemaka is very rich. She is from a wealthy family. She is like on her way to Yale. She's like she's like head girl, doing very well in her studies. She's like very trusted around the school. And Devon is at this fancy school they're both at this fancy school called Nevius Academy. Devon is on a scholarship, and he is trying to get into Juilliard for music. He's really into music. So the only thing that these two characters have in common is that they are the only black kids in this school, and someone is targeting them. So the whole school is starting to get these Gossip Girl like anonymous texts from someone called Aces, and it's mostly about Devon and Shemaka and sometimes people around them, but all basically to ruin the reputations of these two black students. And they realize that they have to like join together and try and figure out what's happening and who's targeting them and why. And I won't spoil what they find out, but oh my god, like throughout this whole book you're like, who can we trust? Because as soon as you think that you can trust someone, you can't actually trust them. and or maybe can you? You know, it's so intense, it's so pacey, but at the same time it's got really good character development and like very well fleshed out characters. So it's like that perfect blend of plot and character, and I just thought it was so good. Just so very good. I really enjoyed myself, and I'll read from this author again in a heartbeat. Then I read another underwhelming thriller, and that's Things We Do in the Dark by Jennifer Hillier. This and Razorblade Tears from my last Crafty reads, I read for a reading vlog where I was reading books that Gabby reads, thrillers that Gabby reads, loved and hated. It came out on Monday if you want to go check that out on my channel. But this was the book that Gabby didn't like, and I picked it up because I enjoyed Jar of Hearts by Jennifer Hillier at Gabby's recommendation. So I was like, I might enjoy this, even though Gabby didn't enjoy it, because the whole point of that video is that our thriller taste doesn't really line up. But this one, I just felt like it was very meh. Like, we're following two main characters, so we're following two main storylines. So we're following a main character, Paris. She is a beautiful Filipino woman who is married to a famous comedian who's much older than her, and she's coming home from a conference that she had in Canada, and she gets home to their fancy house in Seattle, and he is dead in the bathtub, and she trips and falls while trying to like go to him basically and see if he's okay, and she ends up hitting her head, and then she's found in this crime scene basically by his assistant, and she wakes up and there's police everywhere, so she gets arrested for his murder. So that's one of the storylines, and then the other storyline we followed Drew, who is he has a crime podcast called Things We Do in the Dark, and I really feel like if you're gonna name the podcast Things We Do in the Dark and you're gonna name the book Things We Do in the Dark, the podcast should have been more prominent. The podcast was like something that was mentioned for like half a split second, and then we never heard from it again until like the very end, where it was again just like mentioned offhand, which is a little bit odd for me. But he is going to interview this famous murderer called Ruby, and he wanted to interview her because he was a friend of her daughter Joey, who died in a fire. So it was interesting leading up, like listening to these two different, because I listened to this on audiobook, these two different characters and trying to figure out where the connection lay. And then like the ending and everything like that, I felt like was just very anticlimactic and like very blah. Like I felt like it had plotted on okay, and I don't mind a slow moving thriller, but I feel like it needs to give you some bang for your buck at some point, and I really don't think this did that at all. It just ended up with a whimper, you know, and but I think the thing that Gabby probably didn't like the most, and the thing that I had to suspend my disbelief from with the most, which was like, it was frustrating because it was a silly plot point, but it was basically how these two timelines, how they actually cross over, and it's all based on this one action, this like one decision that the main character decides to make, and it is so obviously the wrong and stupidest thing to do, like the wrong answer. Like she made the wrong decision, and then but still it's not resolved. Like she doesn't in the present day think that she made the wrong decision in doing that, and I was like, that is so freaking dumb and annoying. So like I will read from Jennifer Hillier again, but yeah, there was definitely a point of suspending my disbelief that I thought was a little absurd. And then lastly, a book that is firmly on my best books of the year so far, and that is Stay With Me by Adebayo. This book is an incredible literary fiction set in Nigeria, and we're following, we get two points of view, but our main character is Yejide, and she's married to Akin, which is our second point of view. And basically at this point, Akin and Yejide have been trying to have a baby for like a couple of years after they've been married, and culturally it's a very big thing. They need to have children, or that like their family wants them to have children. And Yejide is very against polygamy because she came from a family, a polygamous, a polygamous family, and she really didn't enjoy growing up in that environment. So she's sort of against her will has her husband come to her and say like, look, I'm marrying this woman so that we can have a child. And he was like, it'll get my family off your back, it'll be fine, it won't be a big deal. So I thought this whole book was going to be about the dynamics of this polygamous situation that got foisted upon her, but it's really not. It's really just a catalyst for this family saga that spans over multiple, like more than a decade, I think. And what I find so incredible about this book is it follows some really important and really sad moments in the lives and marriage of these people, and some like real moments of horrendous betrayal. But this book is only like, how many pages is this? I read this also really fast. This book is under 300 pages, and she manages to span such a long period of time with such important elements, and she just picks them out, shows you exactly what you need to see to get the emotion, to get everything behind that moment for you to really feel it. And that's all she gives you. She doesn't do extra extrapolation of things that don't need to be there. But it's not stripped back. It's lushly and beautifully written. So I didn't expect, like I never knew where it was going to end up. Whenever I thought that a conclusion was going to be reached about something and that was going to be the end, that wasn't what happened at all. It really kept me guessing. It was like a wonderfully character-driven plot, but really pacey to get through, and I just thought it was absolute magic. And this author has a new book that's just come out this year. Oh, I want to get my hands on that baby. Apparently it's another Nigerian family saga. I mean, sign me up. And also, just to warn you, at the end of this book I was blubbering like a little bitch baby, so go in knowing that. But this book is worth all of the accolades. Holy hot damn. And that is it. I really hope you enjoyed that. I did enjoy that. It's a warm, lovely day. I'm in my brand new overalls. I'm crocheting. I'm talking about some great books. And it's 2 duddy thrillers, but whatever. I hope you did enjoy that. If you want more from me, my Instagram, my TikTok are linked down below, along with my Kofi link, which is a little one-time tip jar if you're feeling like you want to support my channel at any point. But other than that, like, comment, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. And I'll check you